Right, well hi, first of all, I'm really, really happy to be here doing this and seeing these films again, and to be here like presenting. And I normally have backing music when I do my presentations, partly because it makes people a bit less nervous, but I had the most perfect music for this, but I found it absolutely impossible to concentrate. It's like one of my favourite songs, so I was going to play you a little bit of it, and then you can kind of imagine that it's either the rest of the thing. I think it kind of sets the timing. It's going to kind of, just establish a little bit of mood. This might be, this might cause copyright problems for the recording, but that's fine. Okay. Get set up. Okay, so you've got the idea. Now I'm going to keep that running in your mind, and we're going to put something that I can actually concentrate on stuff on, but it's kind of thematically appropriate. There we go. This is going to send a lot of people to sleep. This is part of the affect experience. Okay, so I'm going to talk about my work and my research is really about horror, and I'm kind of interested in how horror can be a way of thinking about all kinds of other things. But if you examine horror, you can kind of extrapolate that into other aspects of art or other aspects of dealing with the world and things like that, which I'm happy to see is kind of supported, at least by some of the videos before, so it's not just me. So I'm going to talk about this thing. I'm going to draw a diagram to try and explain this. And the concept that I'm really interested in is called the, oh please. There we go. There we go. Wonderful. Okay, so we look at the concept of a human, which is by Patricia McCormick, who's a professor in Anglia Ruskin, and I'm going to read out a definition of a human. It's a term for encountering the outside of the human world is a human, inspired by Guattari's statement, in the last resort, what will be determinate in the political and the aesthetic planes is not the words and the content of ideas, but essentially a signifying messages that escape dominant ideologies. Now, my engagement with this is that it's about kind of gaps and holes and stuff, and things that maybe make mistakes, which is really good because the thing that we're looking at are a selection of films. It's called The Black Curtain in the Instant Where the Eye Shuts. Now, I believe that's from Ring, but I only saw the film of Ring, and the film Ring that I saw in 1999 was kind of really important for me about these kind of black holes, these kind of what I'm going to try and explain as moments of a human. Because of the two things I can remember from the film. Okay, I'm on the trackpad, guys. It's going to get wild. I brought a Wacom with me, all the way from Newcastle, but we're going to do it on the trackpad. Okay, so in the Ring, the two things that I remember from Ring are one is there's a bit where they've kind of looked at the film, and the protagonists have a week left to live because they've watched the video in Ring and they've got the phone call which tells them they're going to die in a week, and they're trying to examine this film and try and find an idea within it of how they can save themselves, how they can not die. And they're watching it, and obviously Ring is a Japanese film, I don't speak Japanese, I watched it in English. I'm watching it and they pull out this sentence that's being sung in it, and they pull out the sentence, and the sentence is, "Frolic in brine, goblins be thine." And when I was like 16 watching this film, that terrified me more than anything, because it's like, that is definitely not the correct translation. Goblins is, I do not believe, goblins might mean something massively different, but it was kind of, that was what was kind of frightening me. So my brain was kind of oscillating between the general kind of terror of the film and decided that something was being presented to me, and all I knew was that what was being shown to me was wrong. And I found that very upsetting. And the other thing that I remember from the film is in part of the video, which has become a bit of a kind of internet fan-based kind of image, And I should have really brought a prop with me, but you have to imagine the prop, and you have to do the thing now instead of drawing it. The other part of the film is Towel Man. If you may be familiar with Towel Man. Towel Man is a figure within the video who's standing on a beach with his hand out like this, with a towel over his head. Again, not a particularly an innocuous thing on its own, but I find it absolutely terrifying because you can see there's the figure, but you don't know who it is, and there's lots of kind of fan speculation about who it is, whether it's another character, what they mean, and stuff like that. So Towel Man and this frolic and brine thing are both kind of worked in the same way for me, in that they point to something that was evidently important, but was being withheld, and I found that absolutely terrifying. So these things are kind of part of the horror, the thing in horror that I like. Remember, I said I see like horror as not a thing categorically just about being horrified, but about a way of looking at other things. Maybe just like a general feeling of like the effective qualities of the thing. It might be that it's wonderful, or it makes you feel really excited, but it has this kind of powerful thing. Which is why the ahuman idea from Patricia McCormick is so interesting, because she says it's a thing that you encounter when you look at art. And particularly when you look at horror films, in that idea of engaging with something else that isn't you, that's why it's interesting. It's kind of popping your idea of yourself a little bit, making you imagine something else. Like in a horror film, it's the horrific thing of, oh my god, they're going to die, or look at that monster, it has too many hands, and that kind of stuff makes you kind of engage with that for a second. So this idea in the ahuman I really like is this thing of things being broken. Right, so we write this in the middle. Broken. Type something broken, and it's actually broken. So this thing of broken, and I feel like at this point in my talk, like I was doing an academic talk, I would have done it already, I feel like now to kind of justify myself and validate it, I'm going to drop a little quote. And this kind of brokenness is, if you want to look at it more, I would say it's quite a lot like Deleuze Guattari's quote, which is, "Desiring machines work only when they break down, and by continually breaking down." Now this is literally how I do my essays, I talk to myself like that. Okay, so this is a thing you can leave there and we'll pause it on. Now, I wanted to talk about this kind of breaking down in terms of, well, first of all, I can understand this breaking down, this kind of idea of the desiring machines. It's not about lack, it's not about things I'm missing and I want them. It's more about new stuff is coming in, like new material is coming in and affecting the ideas. So the kind of language as a virus kind of thing. It's not, my language is broken and it's full of holes. It's like, oh my god, there's rotting things growing all over my language and they're pointing out into all these different directions I'm completely out of control of. So that is the thing of the broken cybernetics I'm talking about. It's like, it's a kind of swirly, kind of messy creature that's like plugging into all different ideas, things that you brought with you, things you misunderstand. I'm there looking at the screen thinking, what on earth could frolic really mean? What is this word? And I'm going to kind of pull back and talk finally about Ring, and try and tell you like 3 kinds of horror that I think are in Ring. And again, these are not just horror, these are like different kinds of feelings that are in it. And these are the feelings I was kind of feeling when I was looking at the films, when I was previewing these films, we're talking about it today. I was thinking about, hey, Ring is like a kind of perfect diagram for explaining what I feel in these films. So the 3 kinds of horror that I see in Ring are the horror that's underwater. And these are kind of fairly familiar if you watch horror films. Remember, it's kind of warm horror underwater. So the thing of like I was saying before about kind of bad translation has a little bit of that. Like I'm aware that there's something there that's out of sight and I can't get to it, and that makes me want to reach into it at the same time as I'm terrified if I reach in, someone's going to reach out and grab me. So that's kind of horror number 1. Horror number 2 is the far more creepy horror, the Lovecraftian horror of like realizing that you're already in the water. So it's that thing of like thinking that this thing was distant from you, and then understanding actually no, you were already embedded within it. It's already part of your life. It's already something that connects to you. It's that thing we get in art of like it folding back and connecting to something that's way outside the frame. And the last, so that's okay. I'm actually a really, really good drawer of Wacom, so this is quite disappointing. But it's fine, we're all like falling asleep and sweating, so this makes it faster. Don't look at me. Right, and the last kind of horror is the horror that doesn't recognise categories. So this is the horror that doesn't respect like a sensible border. So in films, like as referenced already, things like The Thing, the various iterations of The Thing, the horror that will transform into something else. Or in Ring, the horrible scene in Ring when like Sadako comes out of the TV, and the TV is meant to be a safe thing that you are on one side of, and there's a category difference between that and it, and Sadako does not respect this and comes out. And that's like that horrible thing. But that's also the kind of horror kind of thing that the first time if you see like data moshing or something like that and you're not sure if this is meant to happen or not. Or like you see Willow put her arms in the book and these things come out and you're kind of like, oh shit. Like this stuff is like thing that should be one category is broken out and won't respect it and comes out into these different kind of categories. So these are my kind of 3 kinds of horror. As this kind of broader category that, as I've hopefully prefaced at the beginning with my wonderful Natalia Kills thing, can be a kind of non-horror, kind of a loving kind of thing. But I wanted to kind of frame that as a way that like my experience of looking at these films were. And thank you very much for bearing with me.